Before I started talking about Laravel best practices, I would love to introduce us to what Laravel is all about. I would like to introduce us to what Laravel is all about, because I don't really believe that every one of us present here are all PHP developers or are developers. So there are some non-techs among us that might not have heard about Laravel 2011. And it was released more than 5 years after the release of Code Igniter. You must have heard about Code Igniter, if I'm correct. Abi? How many of us have heard about Code Igniter here? Yeah, you must have heard about Code Igniter. So it's another powerful framework. Then secondly, Laravel is a PHP-based web application like Code Igniter. Yes. Laravel is one of the open source PHP frameworks. Yeah. Laravel is it's an open source framework. That is, you can contribute to it if you have what it takes. Laravel follows the model view controller. It follows the model view controller architectural pattern. Yes, I've explained to us what MVC is all about. Model view controller. Yeah, that is the architectural pattern of Laravel. Then the last one is Laravel is the most popular PHP framework, followed by Code Igniter. You might ask me that, why do I get this statistic? Like, why do I get this formula from? Like, as of 2019, Laravel is the most popular PHP framework, which I still believe is still the most popular now. Laravel is widely used, and according to statistics, about close to 2 million websites are running on Laravel. Close to 2 million websites are running on Laravel. So Laravel is very, very popular. Very, 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 very popular. So that is why every PHP developer should at least, if not really much, you can just know basic about Laravel, and in fact, on top of that, you can make Laravel your framework for PHP. Now, let's talk about some essential features provided by Laravel. What are the essential features provided by Laravel? The first one is routing controllers. Routing controller is a way of creating a request URL of your application. This URL do not have to map to specific files on a website. The best thing about this URL is that they are both UMA readable and SEO friendly. In Laravel 5.5 routes are created inside the route folder. Yeah. The thing is that Laravel has a very pretty and beautiful URL pattern that makes your websites to be able to be visible online. It has a very beautiful URL pattern, and your URL routing will be inside your web.php file. Hello, are we here? Yeah. So it will be inside your web.php file. That is for. Okay. Then the second one is configuration management. All the configuration files are created inside the config file. Yes, there is a specific file whereby all your configurations can be created, and all your configuration files, all your configuration settings will be there. Then testability. In Laravel, there are two ways to test your app. One is with unit testing, while the other is with feature testing. Yes, Laravel gives you an option to test your web application either by using unit testing or feature testing and any other. Unit testing is all about testing each component of your project. Like you are testing each component instead of you trying to test it all together. Like you are testing each component. The feature testing is just like you adding new features to your project, and as you're adding new features, you are testing things like that. Then the last one, if I'm right, not the last one, authentication and authorization of users. Yes, Laravel provides a simple way to authorize user action against a given resource. Like authentication, Laravel approach to authorization is simple. And there are two primary ways of authorizing actions, gates and policy. Yeah, you can use, Laravel gives you this option to either use gates and policies for authorizing your users. You know, there are some specific pages you don't want it to be visible to a particular set of users. Maybe in your web application, you have an admin, you have a user, like registered user, and you also maybe probably you have, let me just say, a common user, maybe a guest. For an example, you know, you are having three categories now, like three categories of user now. Someone who is not registered in your on your website, then someone who register as an admin, maybe probably yourself, and another person who is just a registered user in your project. So you can use gates or policy to give access to users. It all depends on the part of your website you want to be visible to certain users. You can use gates and policy. And meanwhile, there is a difference between gates and policy. Gates is just you trying to disallow your user to see a specific part. Maybe you don't want. Maybe you only want an admin to create and edit, and you only want a user probably to be able to, what can I say? Maybe you want a user to only comment. Yeah, you only want registered user to only comment on your website. Probably maybe you are building a blog. You want your admin to be able to create, edit, and delete and other things, but you want registered users alone. Or registered users to comment. You don't want guests, or you don't want not registered users to comment on your website. You can use gates. Meanwhile, you can just allow the user to be able to create, like you are just giving different access by splitting the access to different users. But when we talk about policies has to do with model. Maybe there's a certain model you don't want a user to have access to. So everything that has to do with that model, such particular user will not have access to it. Hello, are you getting it? Yeah. So such particular user will not have access to it. Say for instance, like maybe, let me just say, let me give an example. Let me give post as an example. Post, yes, like posting. Like maybe you only want an admin to be able to use the post model. Like only the admin can create, can edit, can do all manners of things like that. But you don't want another user or guest to be able to manipulate or fetch that, or maybe store data, edit, or do all other things with model. So you can use policy by doing that. Meanwhile, gates is much more simpler to use than policy, because using policy you will have to define a class, as in by running PHP assistant. If that's one of the best practices, always use PHP assistant. Then the next one is modularity. Laravel comes with, you can decide to use a module. Maybe you are building a very large project and you want your to be splitted into different sections, whereby each module we have controller, we have model, just like PG. Each module we have different kind of we have different models, different controllers, this and that. We have their own view, things like that. So you can Laravel, you can create a module to actually control that and use that. Then let me just be quick. Then now let's start looking at Laravel practices, best Laravel practices, or Laravel best practices to consider. Now the first one on the list is that use the latest version. This does not apply to Laravel alone. Like every other programming language, every other framework, Laravel is not a programming language anyway, it's a framework. I believe we all know. Yeah, but I'm just saying that in any other programming language or framework, it is very, very good to always use the latest version. It is very, very advisable to always use the latest version. The latest version. The latest version. Then let's just look at that. When you are using the current stable version, you'll be entitled to a secure and high-performance web solution. It is always advisable to work on the latest Laravel version. Presently now we have 6.0. Please overlook that. Presently now we have 6.0 is the latest version that should be put to use when you are developing a web solution with Laravel. Yeah.
Sorry, what is the latest version of Laravel?
6.0, if I'm right. 6.0. Yeah, 6.7 now. Wow. Seriously. Can you see?
I thought they said they are still combining.
I think the last 1 month I used 6.0. I don't know how. The last 1 month I used 6.0. No problem I'm using. So now let's consider the second one. Do not execute queries in Blade templates. Yeah, I find myself making this mistake as well. We shouldn't be writing queries inside our template engine, inside our Blade or Vue. It is not advisable. Like I think you understand what I mean by that. Like you trying to write a query, like you are writing a query inside. Maybe you want to fetch for all users, and you are saying you are now writing a query to fetch for users inside your template. Inside your template or inside your Vue. That is not advisable. It's not one of the best practices. It's not one of the best practices. So let us take a look at that and correct ourselves. Eloquent ORM. Eloquent ORM is one of the most powerful features which is used to extract data which will be shown to the end user through a single query. What do we mean by eloquent ORM? Eloquent ORM means object relational mapping, if I'm correct. Yes, object relational mapping. Eloquent ORM is just a way of interacting with your database instead of you writing MySQL query. Eloquent ORM way. There are some eloquent ORM, eloquent ORM, just like G framework that you can use. Instead of writing MySQL queries. And the next one is using migrations. Making generous use of migration is yet another important point that when considered will help the programmers in creating web solutions. Database migrations can be put to use for constructing a table, adding and altering the feed. Adding and altering the feed. Yes, it is not advisable to always trying to create columns from the PHP MyAdmin or any other MySQL Studio that we are using. It's not advisable to use PHP MyAdmin to create columns. Instead of that, we can use Laravel comes with its own migrations that you can just create. You can write. You can write anything you want to write, then migrate it, and everything will be stored inside your database. This next one is, I will be very fast now. The next one is artisan interface. Yes, we should familiarize ourselves with the Laravel artisan. Very, very, very important. How the artisan CLI, we should just endeavor that we try to use it as much as possible. Then use of auto load. This gives you ease in running your applications by loading those files automatically, which are needed every time. Then the use of auto load also is very, very important to just help in making sure that all our files and classes are loaded. Don't create controllers. Yeah, it's not advisable to create controller manually. Instead of that, you can run PHP artisan to actually create a controller for you. Don't create a controller manually by just creating it manually the way you create text file in your laptop. No, it is not advisable. It is best to use Okay, sorry. I think I misunderstood that side. If you want route to just show starting view, don't create a controller method. Just use route view. Yes, as well. So we shouldn't. There is no need for you to create a controller when you only want to pass one particular view. There is no need to create a controller for it. Instead of that, you can just create it inside your web.php by just specifying the route, then push the view paths inside the view function, and everything will be rendered. Since you only want to things, an accepted way of doing things. If you do it like this, it will still work, but accepted ways of writing code. That's what we're talking about.
So the article is supposed to, have like be attached with there is an article controller.
Yeah. This one cannot work because it should be article controller.
Yeah, it's supposed to have. Is it?
You are right, article controller.
It's supposed to have the controller, but it's not necessary.
Yeah. What of this one too? The first one. Let's start from the first one. Articles controller.
The first one is correct, I say.
Okay.
Because the capital A is supposed to be in the capital letter. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Second one, call.
The second one is not correct because.
Okay. The thing is that the reason why this is not the conventional way of naming a controller. This is articles. It should be article controller, not articles controller. It should be in singular and not in plural. The article should be in singular and not in plural. Do you get it? Then this particular one, the reason why this one is wrong is that it doesn't start from, with uppercase. It should start with uppercase. Then the use of underscore tool is not generally used. It's not the standard way of naming the controller. That is just what's bad about it. That is just what's bad about it. So then this one, class article extend controller. This is how to name a controller. Article controller. Article controller. So it's not in plural. It's just singular. So all these things are very, very important. And take a look at what I wrote here. Like, say for instance, when you are creating your your migrating file, everything should be in plural. Your table should be in plural when you are creating it. When you are creating your migrating file, it should be in plural. Say for instance, you want to create a user table. The user should be in plural, which is users. It should be in plural, which is user. If you put user, not that it won't work, but it is not. It is because Laravel understands everything has to do with the database table in plural form. We see it as in a plural form. So it is best to let your migrating file, your migrating table to be in plural form. Then model 2 should be, Laravel works on the principle in which for a table named users to expect the model name to be user. Yeah, your model 2 should be in singular. You are creating a model user, it should be in singular and not in plural. Then the blade templating, like when we are working with blade templating, we should try as much as possible to use blade syntax. It is not really okay to use PHP code inside our blade. If you use PHP code, not that it won't work, but it is not just the best practice. It's not just the best practice. Then segregate code. Try to make the reciprocity pattern for your business logic instead of writing in the controllers. Make services and events for specific functionality. So segregate your everything that has to do with events. Let it be in events folder. Everything that has to do with a particular model. Just name it. Just segregate your code according to their different functionalities. Then the next one is migration and feeders. Trial and use Laravel's inbuilt-in feature of migrations to create database. I've spoken about that. Then using resource controller. You should use resource controllers unless you have any particular reason not to do so. Like always use the resource controller unless there is a particular reason why you don't want to use it. So the resource controller will help you to create, to edit, as in it will fetch all the functions for you, create, edit, delete, and other. So look at this. What is wrong with this? Can we just share what is wrong with this? Can we see tell it? This it's very obvious that this person with this project is not using Laravel resource controller to generate these particular functions.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be true. It's supposed to be true.
So it's not. Yes. So it's not using the resource controller, and I see no reason why you as a person will not want to use resource controller, since you want to behave. Yes. So let us say the right way, the right thing now. This is the right way now. Like if you run PHP assistance to generate controller, this is what you are going to see. These are the functions you are going to generate. It will create index function, create, store, show, edit, update, and destroy. Destroy means delete. Thank you.
I know that was a very wonderful presentation by our first speaker. And without this presentation, he has just presented to us. I feel I have this interest. This thing in me that is developing my interest in becoming a Laravel developer. I think after now I will come and see you so you can put me through. And I know for some of you, you also want to step forward in your PHP development career by learning Laravel framework. So, I know from the program we have, the next thing should be question and answer, but I will be doing that after the second speaker. So without wasting much time, I'll be bringing forward our second speaker for the day, the person of Mr. Abib Salami. Okay? All right. So while we wait for him to get set and come up, I would like to know for the PHP developer, because I noticed we have PHP developers in the house. I would like to know, do you, after the first speaker, I want to know if by now you have an interest in developing and going forward in this Laravel. Anybody? Oh, this Laravel. Alright, Mr. What's your name, sir? Mr. Chibon said he now has that interest in moving forward in using Laravel. I'm happy for you. For that decision. No, not yet. Not yet. After second speaker. So let's go for Mr. Peter also. The first speaker has given us his own part of the presentation. I want to know if by now you have that interest in becoming.
Of course, yeah. I mean, first speaker was a little enlightening and that's my interest in Laravel.
Oh, okay, actually, I was expecting that. But like many what Bincom is all about. We open your site to that thing that is needed to make your future in the development world a good and a beneficial one. So, Mr. Balapo, as a PHP developer, I don't know if you have this Laravel before, but I would like to know it very quickly. Oh, okay. I would like to, if after the first presenter, do you now have interest in becoming one?
I want to know how
Oh, that's nice. So, if eventually you get anywhere tomorrow, if probably PHP developers are talking about here, you can say something about it. For you learn one or two things about that. So, alright, so okay.
Someone just came in, so you know next person.
Huh?
Someone just walked in.
Oh yeah. Someone just walked in now, and I would like him to introduce himself to us. We'd like to meet you and know what you do. So I will meet you, sir.
Good morning. Good afternoon. My name is Peter. I'm a young developer.
Okay. All right. Okay. He said he's a Mr. Chika actually. He's a PhD developer with enough years of experience. So, without wasting time, I will call on our honorable second speaker, Mr. Abib Salami, to come on for his presentation. A round of applause. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abib Salami, and I'm a software developer. So I program in C. So to get started, who am I? My name is Abib Salami. So my topic is to discuss how to optimize Laravel application to get started. What do we mean by optimization? Can anybody help with the meaning of optimization? Any help? Yeah. Well, if nobody is going to help, security and of any application or anything per se. But in our own context, how to optimize an application to more efficient, to make it more faster, and to maximize the potential of the system or the framework. So, in case of Laravel, you might be wondering, why do we need to optimize Laravel application? So you want me to check 2 plus 2, then after checking 2 plus 2, what should I do next? Okay, it's 4, keep it in this variable and store it there. So what do I do next? That's how it actually works. So it's also affecting Laravel one way or the other. So why do we need to optimize? There are many reasons for us to optimize our application. First, it will help us to save costs. Most especially if you are running a serverless application. Let's say you are running a serverless application whereby you are being charged by per request. If your application is not optimized, and let's say a user makes a request, and the response is about, let's say, 2 megabytes. As in, that's extra cost on you. But if you optimize your application, maybe the response might be like 2 kilobytes. Just imagine how much you are saving in terms of cost. Secondly, we can increase our profits as a result of our optimization. How do we do that? It has been observed that nowadays we are having attention disorder. We can't focus on something for long. So also when we make a request on the website, it's like it should have opened before when we were thinking about it. So just imagine you are operating, you developed an e-commerce website, and it's taking like a minute to load. The website is not working. Trust me, that's what customer will tell you. I remember I developed this application back then, West African College of Surgeons website, using PHP back then. I think it was 2015. At the time of registration, then it was Hell Week. What do I mean by Hell Week? They will just tell you, hey, after filling the form, because the form is in parts, like 4 parts. And at every stage, they need to upload a file. So, some people might decide to upload their certificate of 2 megabytes or 20 megabytes, and you're like, reduce it to some kilobytes. They won't like, why should we do that? And they will tell you they are customers, so you can't tell them what to do. You have to customize your system to cater for them. So automatically, every day there's always something to do. Why? Because they want to register. And why? Because our system was not optimized. So now, because these people's life is dependent on the system, so they were forced to use the system. They don't know what to do, and they are paying about 5,000 naira to sign up on their platform because it's an exam. file into one single file. So instead of making different requests to include all the files, it has it in a particular file. So instead of reducing request time. So this PHP artisan view here is who have never checked under this folder, storage folder. Since you are using Blade file, the way Laravel actually works is it will like each of your view files is being cached inside the folder. I think it's inside the storage folder, if I can remember, in your root project folder. I think root storage view, apps, then view folder. You see each of the views you created being separated there. But when you want to that some view clear, it's like merge everything into one single file. So it doesn't start requesting, oh, I'm on the home page. That is the home page, home.blade.php now. It's read everything and merge it together. Why? Because of this Blade, Laravel build templates. It will quickly merge everything together and save you the time of making your request. And this composer install optimize autoloader project. Like Ayomide said the other time, when he said when building your project, you may decide to start including different plugins, packages in your project. Just to save your time, okay, there's a package that slap somebody, there's a package that cook food. After it's a framework, so there's no point not using packages. When on deployments, you don't want unnecessary packages sitting in your application. So with composer dump autoload, it will package it has a repository of all the requests, all the packages you are using. Merge it together in a single request file that, okay, this package is there, this package is there, and these are all the packages I'm using, just like a codex, and package it there, and that actually helps to optimize your applications too. Now, eager loading relationship. Actually, this is not the, to be honest with you, this is not the slide I intend to use, other than the fact that my system crashed and I have to come up with this in a rush. I also have come up with a source code to show you this. When we are building an application, let's say we are building a blogging platform. Let's say a shopping cart, an e-commerce website where a product belongs to a category, a product belongs to a merchant, or let's say a multi-vendor platform where a product belongs to a merchant. A lot of products belong to a merchant.
tag. The other one is saying don't page tag and nothing. If so, or if number is equal to 2, then